welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey here at the helm as I show you another fabulous project to work on. And this is the Ocean Waves Throw, and it's a free pattern available on redheart.com. Go to the more information of this video. You'll see a direct link can take you right there if you prefer to follow the written directions along with this video. This video will be divided into two different sections. The first half, I'm going to be teaching you how to do this particular Afghan. The second half are for cheaters. These are the people that lose count partial way into the project, and then all of a sudden their lines start going off to the side, or their Afghan starts growing like this instead. And so what I want to show you is how to cheat the system. There are ways that you can cheat. There's actually some mistakes in here. I know, I'm not that perfect. You know, Riverstone jumps on my lap once in a while. I lose count. And you don't realize in this Afghan until you're one line above that you've made a mistake on the line below. I'm going to show you exactly where you can cheat the system. There are actually several ways and where you cannot cheat the system. And so that'll be second half of the video. There's going to be a red button on screen on how to cheat the system. Just click that if you're more interested in learning all the cheating rules, because you know how to operate this Afghan as it goes. So now let's get started. Take you down to the studio table and let's begin to work on this right now. Let's get started working on this free pattern available on redheart.com. If you're looking for this, you just have to go to the search engine at the top, enter in the word Ocean Waves, and this pattern will pop up. You simply just have to go look at the pattern, and then you can do a downloadable printable version just like so. You can print it off. It's nice and printer friendly. You have all the directions and it's only one page. Very nice and simple. We're using a Susan Bates bamboo crochet hook today, size I, 5.5 millimeter, and I'm going to be using, instead of a Super Saver as it's calling for, I'm going to be using Red Heart with Love, and you can find all that information down here at the bottom. So now let's get started on working on this tutorial. When you're looking at this Afghan, you have two different sides. This is side one, which is the most desirable side of the two, and the way that we change colors and the way that we work on the back loops, you can clearly see that there's a lip happening, and so people are asking what the difference between a regular wave and the ocean wave, and it's beautiful cascading effect of the waves going over. When you turn this Afghan over, because you've only back looped on the one side, you'll see that the other side is very flat, just like so, just like a regular wave. So basically this lip is only on the top side. Very fun and very easy, and because of that, that's what makes this a very unique Afghan to work on. In the rules of crochet, it's called multiple sets, and this is one of those Afghans that has a multiple set, so you have to keep the stitch count going. So you, for example, cannot just go 100 chains and then hopefully you'll get the right perfect balance. You have to keep the stitches in a certain quantity of count. So that, for example, from the top of here to the top of here is 15 stitches. So if you wanted to make this Afghan any larger than what the pattern's calling for, you just have to count 1 to 15. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to 15 will get you this complete chevron just like so. So if you go 1 to 15 again, you'll get the next one. And so when you're working on this and you want to do a twin size, queen, king size, or any different kinds of sizes, even if you want to shrink the pattern, all you have to do is count 1 to 15 and then keep counting 1 to 15 until you get the desired size that you want for the width. And it's actually just a very simple thing. At the end of your chain, you're simply going to add 4 extra chains, and that counts as your first double crochet when you're going over and above and starting along. So again, the multiple chains are 15, and continue to do that and add 4 at the very end of your chain in order to make that work. In this particular Afghan, what we need to pay attention to is where the tops are. If you understand where the tops are and how that works, everything in the bottom here falls in line. It's only in the top peaks that we're adding more stitches in, and then everything from the top peak down to this whole section we start decreasing stitches in order to make it stay in balance. So as long as you understand where the points are, the rest of this Afghan will fall in line. Okay, in the pattern it's calling you to do a chaining of 139, and so basically I'm going to start off with a slip knot, and there's slower tutorials available if you need to know how to do that. So I'm just going to slip in my hook. In today's tutorial I'm just going to do a small sample. Remember what I've already said is that it's in multiples of 15, and in fact what you're going to have here is that when you look at chaining of 139, there's actually 135 is actually the loops going up and down, so there's your multiples of 15, and then you add your 4 on at the end. So today what I'm going to just do is I'm only going to do 30, which is the equivalent of going up and down twice, and so let's do that. So let's count this out, and I'm not going to do it all the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I want you to do is go all the way to 139 if you wish. If you wish to make it bigger, you're more than welcome to, and if you wish to make it smaller, you can do that as well. So continue along. If you've not done the 139 and you're doing your own particular size, I've just stopped at 30, and at the end of your chain in the multiples of 15, so I have 2 multiples of 15, as you can see there's 30 there. We're simply just going to add 4 more stitches, so 4 more chains. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that becomes your first part of your project, just like so. So let's begin. We're going to do row number 1 together. To begin, we're going to do 4th from the hook. So it says beginning the 4th from the hook, DC 2 together 3 times, and so it's got a lot more to it, but let's get started. So 1, 2, 3, and go into 4. My thumb is already there, and I'm just going to wrap and go in, just like so. Pull through 2 and hold. So we don't want to finish that double crochet. So we're going to wrap. We're going to immediately go to the very next one on the chain. Wrap, pull through, and go through like that. So you have a total of 3 on your hook. So this begins your first one, and these are your 2 together. We're just going to grab our yarn and pull through. So it says to do that 3 times. So this is number 1. So we wrap, going in, pull through 2 and hold. Let's do it again. So we go to the very next chain, pull through 2 and hold, and now you got 3 on your hook again. Grab the yarn, pull through all 3. So let's do that one more time. So wrap, going into the very next chain, pull through 2 and hold, and then wrap, and going into the final one here, pull through 2. You have 3 on your hook, and now that is your double crochet together 3 times. So now let's move along in the directions, and it says 3 double crochets in the next 3 chain. So simply that means is that there's going to be 3 double crochets in the next 3 chains. So we're just going to wrap, going into the next chain for a double crochet. We wrap again, we go into the very same chain space. That was number 2 of 3. Wrap into the next one, just like so. Okay, so there is your 1 of 3. So we're going to go into the very next chain again, and we're going to put 3 more double crochets in. So just count them out, 2, and this here is the very top, the very center top of your project, of the wave is right here. It's the second one in, and now it says to do that 3 times, so we just have to do it one more time into the next chain for 3 more double crochets. So at the top of your waves you're always gaining stitches, and at the bottom of your waves you're always decreasing them, make them smaller in order to keep these waves moving around. So now let's go on to the next part here. It says double crochet 2 together 6 times. Okay, so we're going to do this 6 times in the next one. So here we go. So we're going to wrap, and we're going to go into the very next chain. Pull through 2 and hold. Okay, we're going to wrap, we're going to go into the next chain then. Pull through 2 and hold, and now you're just going to pull through all loops. Okay, so that was 1 of 6. So wrap, going to the next one, and we're just going to hold it, and this is double crochet 2 together, going to the next one, and now you have 3 on your hook again, pull through all 3. So that was number 2. So going into the next one, pull through 2 and hold, the next stitch, pull through, just like that. So there is 3 of 6. So we go to the next chain, pull through 2 and hold, next chain, pull through 2 and hold, and then we pull through all 3. So there is number 4. So let's continue again. So next chain, pull through 2 and hold, next chain, pull through 2 and hold. Okay, that was 5. And we do it one more time. So we want a multiple of 6. Once you get working on this Afghan, it gets very easy to tell where this is in the project. So this chain, we got to really make sure we're making sure our counts are good. So we simply now have 6 groups here of 2 together. Okay, so when we're looking at it, we can see that we came over the hump. So we came up and around. There is your 3 together, and then you can see from this point we started decreasing down, and it'll become more obvious as we work along. Now it says to do 3 double crochets together, or 3 double crochets into the next 3 chain. Okay, so we're basically on the top of the wave again. And so simply, if you're working on different size widths, this is the repeat pattern. So basically you just have to keep repeating the same thing. Once you get over the first wave, you just do everything the same as you work along. So there was 3 double crochets into the next chain. Okay, this is the second one, and the second one is always the middle of the wave on the top part of the peak. So 3 double crochets, and then we do it one more time, and this is the other side of the wave formation starting to go in the downward position. Just like so. So now we're starting to go down, and here's what we're going to do. We're coming down to an edge. So if you are working along this edge, you're basically going to come down just like you did before. You're going to go down to your 6. But now I'm running into the edge. So this basically, it's one of those patterns that it's very easy to follow, just up and down, just like so. So let's begin. Let's go on to the edge. There's simply going to be only 3 sets of 2 double crochet together going down the one edge. So here we go. So we're going to wrap going into the next stitch, and we're doing 2 together just like we've already done before. That, and then we pull through all 3. So let's do it again. And 2 together. Just like that, and then finally one more time. So we're simply just going to double crochet the very final stitch, just a normal thing. Now some viewers, what they do is they have more chain left over, and simply what I would just do is untangle it if you felt that you did everything right. You could have lost count when you were counting 1 to 139 or more, and so basically it's just an easier way to do it than frog this and be able to do it as long as you think it's been done right. So let's begin again. We're going to turn our work, and we're going to start up the one side and going down the other. To recap on where we are, we did our chain, we came back all the way, and no matter what size that you made it, you always had to make sure it was in groups of 15 stitches so that you can complete your wave formation, and at the end of that chain you should have added 4. We came back and we did a decrease coming back up the other way, and you can see that these 2 chains became 1, became 1, and became 1. This group of 3 will always be consistent on the ends, just like you see on this side, these group of 3. So if your sides are going all wonky, it's because you're not maintaining these 3 here. When you did the 3 double crochets together in the top 3 stitches here, this will always remain the same. Okay, and what changes is that when we go and move up to the next row here, when we came back up, what we're just doing is that we would start over here, and basically you still need to maintain these 3 here, but the problem is that you don't have enough stitches unless you're using this top one here. So you're going to use this first section. So these 2 become 1, these 2 become 1, and these 2 become 1, and that is your 3, just like you would see underneath. So this first section always remains as part of the decreasing on the edges, whether it's on the inside of the wave or on the edges, and the only one remaining untouched. Remember that we had our chaining of 3 right in the center here where we put 3 double crochets. Well, when we go to do that on this round, those 3 double crochets into each of the 3 are right in this section only. It's right on the top. So if you find yourself where you're missing counts and etc., and maybe that you're catching 1 over here or 1 too early, you're going to realize that your waves are not going to grow up perfectly. When you get back to the middle section here, this whole section, this first section here becomes 1, becomes 1, becomes 1, and you have a total of 6 until you get to the other side. So this is just the consistency to watch for this, because these 2 on the either side of the center one is a really critical factor in order for keeping your counts straight. We're starting off here, and this diagram was created by me to help you see the pattern. And what we did here is that we're going to be moving up and doing a decrease, and then on the top here we are just going to do our 3 double crochets into each 3 stitches. So what I did here is that I marked where those 3 are, this blue here, and with the white yarn, and you can see that that's the middle section. So you have the one on the one side and you have the one on the other, but the middle section is this blue one right in the middle. As long as you're paying attention to that, you can actually work out this pattern really quite easily. So we're simply just going to chain up 3, and we're going to do a double crochet decrease. So we're just going to wrap, going in, pull through 2 and hold, wrap in, pull through 2 and hold, and now you have 3 on your hook, pull through all 3. And we want to do that a total of 3 times. So go into the next stitch and the next one, so that you pull 2 together. And you can already see here is that when we did it, this one and this one became one, which is in the first section here. So you should only have 2 left by the time that you get to the center point over here. And if you have more than that or less than that, you know you've done something wrong. So we now have our 3 double crochet decreases. We're now on the top of the center, and then these 3, which are part of this middle one right here, is going to get 3 double crochets into each of those 3. So this becomes the new section then for the edges going up. The middle one becomes the new middle point of your next row when you come back across. Okay, and then your final. So you should have 3 groups of 3 double crochets into 3 top stitches. So now that we have that in, you can honestly see we're now going to start decreasing, coming down, and we want a total of 6. So this white yarn marker here is just indicating that I've now onto the new group. So you can see this is the group of 3 that's underneath, and we're going to be using that to start doing your decrease as we come back down and around. So the first 2 are going to be a decrease, a double crochet decrease. So 1, do the next 2 together. That's 2. The next 2. So while I'm doing this, so I just look at it and make sure that you always have just 3 groups or 6 groups of 2 coming together as you're working all the way around. And the easiest way to look at it and to keep your count without really having to blow any brain cells is that when you come back up to the other side, you want to look to where that middle point is. I marked it with the stitch marker here just to indicate to you, but when you get to that middle section here, as soon as you're in there, you should be able to look behind the stitches that you just did and realize that you have a groups of 6. If there's only 5, then you know something's wrong, and if you didn't get to all 6, then something is wrong as well. And we're going to be covering that into the cheating aspect at the end of this video. So we now have 6 groups of the double crochet coming together, and you can see it really formed the wave coming down, and now we're back onto the top again, and the top stitch there is going to be 3 double crochets into each of the 3 stitches. So as long as you can pay attention to where the center point is on the tops of the waves, the rest of this will come really naturally for you. In the next part of this video, we're going to be coming back. We're going to do a color change to show you how to do that, and we're also going to be playing on the back loops. Every time you change color or continue along with a group of 2 like this, you need to work on the back loops. So we're going to come down the other side. Remember what I said, you went up 3 this side, you're going to come down 3 on this side. So we're going to just put a double crochet together and do it 3 times. And so if your counts are right, you should end up with 1 stitch that's left. So you now got 3 coming down this side, and then you should be able to do 1 double crochet right into the very end. So basically you have your wave formation, and you can see that it's now starting to take shape. So let's I'm going to fasten off at this point, and I'm going to just weave in the ends. I'm going to show you how to hide in your yarn ends at this point, and I'm going to show you what to do next. In the pattern it says to change the colors every 2 rows, and this is when we start doing the back loops every time we do a color change. So I've just cut my yarn. I'm just going to pull up like that, and I'm simply just going to come and weave it once, just kind of like tie it onto itself, pull it nice and tight, and just leave it like so. So now I'm going to turn my material, and I'm going to leave in my stitch markers just to kind of indicate to you on the tops of these ideas so you can see it kind of works up. I'm going to grab my new yarn. I'm not going to do any ties or knots onto it. I'm just going to simply put it into a loop like so, and I'm going to go into the very edge and I'm going to grab that loop. So you see that there's no ties. I simply am just going to allow that to just sit down on top of the line. I want to grab the other one as well, the other straggler that we just finished off with, and we're immediately going to chain up 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So this is where we start doing our decrease, going back up the other side again, but this time we're going to work on the back loops only. Every time you do a color change in every 2 rows, we're going to be doing back loops only. So here we go. So we're just going to wrap, and we're going to go into the very first stitch. If you do not know what a back loop is, when you come into the stitch here, there's always 2 strings. The string that's closest to you, like this, is the front loop. The one that's from behind is the back loop, and this is what's causing the Afghan to lift off and make it really 3-dimensional. So we're just going to wrap. We're going to go into the back loop only, and we want to make sure the stragglers stay on top of the hook, and we're just going to wrap it around and pull through 2. We're going to wrap again, going into the next one and making sure the stragglers are on top. We're going to this is how you hide in your loose ends. Okay, and now you have 3 on your hook. You bring it all together, and we want to do that for a total of 3 times. So wrap, going into the back loop, make sure those stragglers stay on top, and do it one more time as we put 2 together. Okay, I'm pulling those stragglers a little bit tight, and then I'm pulling through all 3, and I'm going to do it one more time. So back loops, just make sure the stragglers stay on top. Now it seems like the stragglers are not behaving for me now. It's a combo of 2 things. It's a combo of that I'm in front of the camera, so I'm a little nervous, but also, you know, you do want to take your time and get those into position so that they're secured. So now you're simply just going to pull through all 3. So now you have 3 groups of 3 building up onto the one side, and if your math is right, this middle section, which is the group of 3, should be left alone because this group of 3 is part of this decreasing, as you see down here. So simply I'm just going to come into the very next one, which is the top of the middle 3 underneath, and put in 3 double crochets into the back loops. So you got to keep those back loops going on this whole row. So just stay on the back loops only, and I just keep that straggler in for that particular one, and then I just kind of let the remainder fall out, and at the end of the project I kind of just go back and trim it, or if you can trim it now if you wish. But again, continuing for the 3 top ones to have 3 double crochets in to each. So you will be noticing that there's a big gap that you can see here, and that settles down, so that's something that you shouldn't worry about at this point. It does settle down as these stitches work its way out. So now the top 3 now have your 3 groups of 3 double crochets each. We're now going to start decreasing. You see underneath here, this whole group of 3, which is the other side of the center point, is part of the decreasing again, and we want to continue to do that as well. So 6 2 double decrease together. You know what I mean. So you're putting 2 stitches together all the way down and back up to the other side. So there should be a total of 6 of them by the time we get over there. So you can either count it as you go, or you can just simply look and see where the top section is of the next wave. This is the middle section right here. So all of this decreasing should be able to take me to that point, and it should be equaling a total of 6. So I'm a little bit slow in this tutorial than I normally am, and the reason for it is that we're having a lot of people, even that are reading patterns, messing up on the sides. So I'm really trying to indicate to you what to visually look for so that you can self-correct if you have to, and that's part of the cheating at the end of this project. Okay, so this is the middle section here. So if I'm truly right, there should be 6 in between. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're right. So we're right in the middle here. And again, every time you hit to the middle, it's 3 double crochets into the back loop for this row only. So the honest to God truth at this point is that the back loops are a little bit slower in order to work your way across. So you kind of have one row which will be your next row where you don't have to think about that, and then when you change color just like so, this is the row that you need to pay attention to, and just be a little more detailed with your crochet work, but the results are so worth that extra that you had. So you got 3 now double crochets into the top. We now start decreasing, so you basically have this group of 3, and we have to remember that we only want 3 groups going down with a final double crochet. So it should work out to be perfect if you're keeping count properly. So double crochet, decrease, 2 double crochet, decrease. Okay, so that's 1. And sometimes I get wondering whether I'm actually going to have too many stitches left over, and it always works out. I just don't know why it visually just doesn't look right. And I think that's where crocheters try to self-correct. They think it doesn't look right in the spot, and then you realize maybe a couple rows later that you shouldn't have overcorrected. And so basically you got 3 coming down, and so you have 1 final stitch left, which is your double crochet. And voila. So you can see by working in the back loops you have a lip that formed up, and so let's turn it over. So this is where we had everything trapping into the back loops here when we did the stragglers, so you can come along, safely trim that at this point, and then basically crochet is basically knots, so basically it's going to tighten up onto itself, and so you don't have to worry about falling apart. So let's turn this material using the gray one more time, and I'll show you what to do next. So I'm going to turn the material, and just basically what we already know you're doing at this particular point. So we're going to just chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and again 3 decreasing methods as we go up. So basically we go into both loops at this point, and we're just going to do a decrease 3 times. So that's 1, 2, and then 3. So if your math is right, the middle one should still be untouched but be the next section that you have to do, which is right there. So you're obviously right. So we're going to do 3 double crochets into the top. So you can see how much faster I'm going because I don't have to worry about the back loops, but it's the back loops that separates the ocean wave from a regular typical wave Afghan, and what is really quite visually stunning, as you can probably see on our Facebook on redheart.com, as well as the Crochet Crowd Facebook, as people are posting photographs of this stuff. So the final one, there's 3 groups of 3 double crochets into each, and that will take you to that'll take you over the top of the row below. And so now we're going to decrease again, coming down the other side and back up to the middle. So basically I can see where the middle section is right over here, so that's where I'm going to work my way out. Okay, so we're just going to do 6 groups of double crochet together. So 1. So you can either count it as you go, or you can count at the end. So I just choose to count at the end. It just makes sense for me. When you run out of stitches and you see the visual of where you're coming up on the other side, it just actually makes a lot of sense. So in the part of the cheating that's going to be coming up, I'm going to show you what happens is if you realize you don't have enough stitches or you have too many, how to compensate without having to frog your work and taking it apart. So at this point I'm in the middle section right here, so there should be a total of 6. So I'm just going to quickly look. So I just train my eyes to look for groups of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 equals 6. I just train my eyes to do that. It's just easier for myself. We're now on the top of the wave again, and the tops are always the same, 3 double crochets into each one of the 3. Okay, and now you're going to continue along, and then when you get to the end, you remember how we had 3 groups of 3 coming down the one side? It's still remaining the same. It's the 3 groups of 3 coming down. So okay, so 1, 2, and this is the final of the decrease together. So this is your 3 groups here, 1, 2, 3, leaving you an end of a double crochet right at the very end, and we simply just change color once again. So let's change color. We're going to review how to start one more time, and then I'm going to get on to the cheating methods on how to get away with when you're losing counts in the middle of this project. The pattern originally calls for 5 different color changes, and at that point you can just you know, you can change the colors as often as you feel like. You can secure these edges the way that you feel most comfortable doing so, and I just kind of fasten that off, kind of tighten it onto itself. So now we're just going to grab the pink yarn here and just form a loop just like so. So you're not going to do any ties or anything. Coming to the first stitch here, top of the double crochet on the row below, and we're simply just going to start chaining up 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and now we grab the both straggler for the gray and the pink together, and we're going to start putting our 2 double crochet together decreases together. So let's do 3 groups of those. So we're going to do the first back loop only. We've changed the color so it's back loop only, and making sure the stragglers are on top like I've already explained before, and we're going to put 2 together, and that's 1. We have to do a total of 3 of those. So this is number 2. So I can either count it or I can look for it. So that's 2, and then remember, keep those back loops going, and then there. So we have our 3 groups now of the double crochet together, and you can see that the next stitch available is right in the center pieces here, so that you know that your counts are perfect. Coming to back loops only, the tops always get 3 double crochets each. And after I get the first one, I kind of let them just kind of fall in behind, and I'm going to come back later and trim those. So the 3 middle ones in the top get 3 double crochets in each. And now we start decreasing again as we start working in this group, going down the other side all the way back up to the next size of the wave, and there is going to be 6 groups of double crochet together. So basically you're essentially just making 12 stitches into 6 by doing what you're doing here with the decreasing of 2 together 6 times. So you can see the back loops really provide a really wonderful edge and idea to this whole Afghan, which really makes it different from many other projects that you see with the waves. They're not sitting so flat. And we're just visually looking, and I can see that I have 2 more stitches left here, and this is in the group of 3 that's on the one side of the center point, just like so. So it's a great indication that I have 6 done already. This pattern does not call, we're actually at the top now, there's 3 double crochets into each. I'll do that while I'm talking to you. And essentially this pattern is very simple. There is no border. You simply just go to the length that it's asking you to do. It's about 67 inches. You can obviously stop smaller if you want to do a baby size Afghan for a particular project that you're working on. And don't limit yourself to the creativity, and we've already put on screen the size of chains that you would require if you wanted to do a larger size bedspread up to king size. So it's a really great opportunity to do something really kind of funky with your crochet. And we're simply now just going to come back down. So we would just go all the way across like this, and then when we get to the end, remember we have our 3 groups going down. So essentially this is all this pattern is, just very simple and a really quick idea. So the next row I would not do with the back loops. I would just do the regular loops, the regular stitches, and then it's anytime you change color that you stay on the back. So in the next part of this tutorial, by the way, the last stitch is a double crochet like we've already shown. So the next part of this tutorial we're going to get on to cheating, and I'm just going to throw in some extra stitches here, because you know what happens if you end up with too few stitches in the middle here and not enough to work on this project. So I'll show you how to do that next. Well, this is section number 2, and this is all about cheating, and this is the steps that it takes in order to bring yourself back in alignment without having to frog your work. There are several ways that you can cheat the system in order to keep your Afghan looking perfect. Now, I did change the color to yellow to indicate that there's a problem here, and I did several errors in along, and I'm going to show you how to be able to correct them. So I'm just going to fasten on my pink yarn as normal, and I'm going to knot. And this would actually work if it was back loops or front or regular stitches, so it doesn't really matter on that particular aspect of this. So where I made a mistake is somehow I added an extra stitch here, and because I forgot to put 2 together here on the edges. Now if I try to fake it and follow the pattern as is right now, what's going to happen is that this center point is going to start weaving off like this, and then your Afghan is going to start growing off in this direction and not stay square. So here's how I compensate for that, and I wouldn't have noticed it at the time of this mistake, and I'm at the end and I can actually correct it and take it apart if I really wanted to. Or if this happens in the middle of the particular project, you're not really going to do that, and it's something that you can cheat the system with. So here's the trick. We need to maintain this group of 3 going up onto the one side here. So we're just going to start off as normal, and I wouldn't have noticed that this error at this point. I'll be very honest with you, it's something that I wouldn't have noticed. And I start doing it, I put 1 together, and then I put 2 together, and then I look at it and say, you know what, I still have 1, 2, 3 more stitches, but then there's the center point here. I have an extra stitch. So this is how I cheat going on an edge, is that I go 1 together, 2 together, and you know what, I just put the 3rd one in with it. I add it right in, and that what this will do is that it will still make all of these stitches still 1 stitch. Therefore in the next round you still have your 1, 2, and 3, and so then you basically go up over the top and be able to watch it that way. Now I'm just coming up over the top, and I've made a mistake coming down the other side, and in fact I've added an extra stitch by accident because I forgot to double crochet decrease at one particular point. And this is where people go mostly wrong, is that they want to maintain the count here, but then they've messed up on the row underneath and don't even realize it until they've gotten to the top of the next one. And sometimes they don't even realize it at that point, and it's a few rows later that they realized that their middle sections are now just not in line with each other anymore. So I'm now looking at it, and you know what? I'm about to run out of stitches. I have to do one more double decrease here, but there's only 1 stitch left before I'm into the center point. But you have to maintain that counting of 6 sets here. So I can't do a 6th one, so all I'm just going to do at this point is just put in a double crochet to maintain that 6 count for the next row coming up. You are never going to notice this in the project. I'm now back onto the top again, and we're just going to put in our 3 double crochet together, or into the same stitch. So essentially you have to maintain these counts of 6 and 3 on the edges, and if you don't maintain those, that's when your Afghan grows really kind of weird. So we're now coming back down the other side, and essentially we've got to put 3 together, 3 groups. So 1, 2, and this is a 3rd cheating technique. Uh-oh, I have 1 more decrease to go, but I have an extra stitch left. So all I'm just going to do is that I'm going to do 1, 2 together. So this would be the normal. I still have 2 more stitches to go. I'm just going to add in that 3rd one just to maintain the count of the 3 coming down, and then finalize it off with the double crochet. So this is a lot of cheating. I don't ever make that many mistakes in a pattern, just like so. But now essentially you've done all of those corrections there, and do you notice it? It's one of those fabulous projects. So if I just chain up 3 now, 1, 2, 3, I'm just going to quickly do this, and I put my 2 together. Even though there was a mistake underneath, I'm going to put my 2 together 3 times. So this is just completely off the whim, and I should be able to check it, and I put my 3 together to maintain that counting of 3, and I'm back on the center. So I know that I've corrected myself. I'm ready to keep on going, and the project will have no indication that you messed up at this point. So that was cheating technique number 3 as we go along. And essentially I want to show you one more cheating technique that you cannot get away with and that you literally will have to frog your project, and I'll cover that next. Right. The only time you cannot frog your work is when you add in an extra one of these 3 double crochets into it. So instead of just 3, you did 4, and you accidentally went one more time. And that is the only time that you cannot frog your work, or sorry, you have to frog your work. Essentially because you have way too many stitches to be able to do any kind of cheating techniques, because when you try to cheat the system and there's that many extra stitches because you added an extra 3 stitches, it's just going to cause your work to buckle, and you're going to see a really big puff mark with inside your Afghan, and your Afghan at that particular point probably will not sit flush. So how do you identify that when you're coming over the top? So I just put my 3 in just like normal, and then all of a sudden, you know, this is the 3 that's supposed to be decreasing, but then I still have another 3 here. So you can see that I technically really haven't gone over the top. I'm still on the one side, because the fact is that there's too many double crochets in together. And so if I try to bring everything together and to keep it as normal, what's going to happen is that you're just not going to end up at the middle point, and your work is going to start buckling and really not sit flush. And that's a big deal for crocheters generally on many projects, when the project doesn't sit completely flat. And you can see that there's clearly an error at some point. So I'm bringing everything together, because sometimes I don't actually notice that I've made that mistake at that particular point, and then I realize that when I get to this other side and I'm looking for the middle point of this one over here, I'm just keeping going along, I'm minding my own business, crocheting along, and then I come back and I go look. So I'm just going to do this. So a couple of things will happen is that you will see that there's an extra stitch before I get to the middle, so I know something's wrong. So I'm going to look back and count. Did you see how it's buckling like that? Right there? That's happening because of that. So I'm looking back and I'm like, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 already instead of 6, and I still have 1 more to go, so that I know that my mistake is right here, and you can clearly see it, that it's puffing out just like so and not sitting flush like it should. And that's an idea here, and that's the time that you must frog it at that particular point. Well, thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to teach you. On behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd, we hope that you've enjoyed today's tutorial. You can clearly see in the sample here that this is the ocean waves just like so. Many people are asking what the difference is. This is not doing any back loop work, so you can see how flat that it is, and even when you turn it over, you can see a beautiful cascading effect that you see here that you don't see here, and that's one of the amazing ideas. Hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial. You've gotten some tips on how to cheat the system if you need to, and this is a great and fun little project to work on. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of redheart.com.